Well, the day has finally come. We had our first real snowfall of the season here in the middle of February. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel. We're finally today able to do my full comprehensive review of the 2024 Yarbo snowblower, which consists of the new 2024 core body as well as the snowblower module. Now, of course, this is a modular system, so you can go ahead and get the mower attachment, the blower, and some of the future accessories and attachments that they may want to offer for this exact product. But I actually, believe it or not, received this product back in December 2024. Originally, of course, you know, it's winter time, snowfall can occur anywhere at any time or within reason. And it's taken this long here in Western Illinois to actually receive a snowfall where I've been able to test the Yarbo unit and ultimately how well this system or robot works in clearing your driveway. And also, I do want to mention, it's extremely cold outside. It is single digits, 4 or 5 degrees Fahrenheit here early in the morning. So I certainly myself would not be one of outside clearing the snow. So the fact that you can simply press a button on the app, activate the snowblower, let it run its course that you've of course pre-mapped on your driveway and or sidewalks, let it do its thing, and hopefully come back to the wireless charging dock itself, start recharging the battery for your next run, is pretty darn impressive on paper from the sound of things. So we're going to start this video out with some of the unboxing setup process. Then we'll get ultimately into the actual use case, which I'm about to film right now. So I'll go ahead and have chapters throughout this video labeled at the bottom so you guys can skip around if you need to do so. And of course, I want to give a huge thanks to Yarbo themselves for sending this product out for me to test and review and create this video for you guys. I want to thank them for being patient. I wanted to actually test this in real world conditions, and we finally have those. It's been, several months since I've actually had the product sent out, so I want to, give a huge thanks to them for being patient, and waiting on the actual snow and the weather to cooperate for this video. But I also look forward to maybe using this during the summertime with some of the additional attachments that they do offer, such as the mower, things like that. But just want to give a huge thanks to them for sending this product out and giving me this opportunity. The Yarbo unit itself should arrive in roughly 5 to 6 boxes. Now note, these are very large and heavy, so make sure you have enough room to store and assemble them and safely. Each box is very well packaged and includes printed materials with QR codes on them to links to digital or video instructions. As you can see here, the GPS antenna or RTK module that I was referring to actually comes located at the very front of the core module, and this is required to operate it. So we will be getting into setting up this in just a few minutes, but interesting location of that. So just do be careful when opening and unboxing this for the very first time. Setup can be done in roughly 2 main sections: assembling the robot with the attachment and mounting and setting up the data center and wireless charging dock. Now, the setup of the core and the snowblower attachment took me roughly an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. Once powered up, you can use the Yarbo app to connect it to your home Wi-Fi for potential software updates that may be necessary out of the box or in the future. That light is bright. Actually, all of them are bright, and they're RGB. Pretty darn cool. So now at this point, it looks like, well, obviously that is mostly set up, but I got the rest of the setup to do for the base RTK data module, running a little bit of wiring, everything like that. So this is just one step. Still see it's booting up here, and there should be some audible aspects to it also. Ready to work. That's what it says. So yeah, basically that is going to be the setup as far as that goes. I think that took me roughly an hour, maybe hour and 15 minutes, something like that. Everything's well labeled, well packaged. Although I will say there's some peculiar bits in one box that you'd expect to be, say, with the core module. Ready to work. A lot of the stuff is in the accessories box, so that's a lot of where the tools and all the bolts and all the assembly hardware come from. There is a few bits in the actual snowblower box as well, and then you saw the user manuals that I overlaid a few seconds ago, but as a whole, really not too bad.
It's just a little bit of a time-consuming process to get everything ready to go. But once it's ready to go, hopefully it saves you time in the long run of actually having to go outside and doing a lot of this work yourself.
Now after this, you'll need to set up and mount the data center and wireless charging dock. Yarbo gives you a few different options for mounting the data center, but I would recommend hard mounting it to the side of your house, outbuilding, or similar if possible, because any movement after everything is set up and mapped will negatively impact the robot's accuracy and may actually require remapping. So getting it as sturdy as possible is only going to be a benefit to using this product over the long run. Now, unfortunately, I received this kit too late in the season, so I needed an easy, quick option to get it up and running. So I used the included ground stakes and ground mounting kit, which actually does hold it quite well if placed in a grassy area with, sturdy soil, but still I would recommend hard mounting it over the long run, which is what I will eventually do. Now the data center needs a clear view of the sky, so I placed mine roughly 20 feet from the outside of my house in the backyard, and this was enough to provide good signal reception to the satellites in which it's communicating with. Luckily for me, the previous owner already ran wiring through the rim joists of the back of my house for something in the past, so I already had an easy entry point for the Ethernet cable that powers and connects the data center to your home Wi-Fi router. Now the kit includes everything that is necessary to power and connect it, including a PoE injector or power over Ethernet and a 100-foot Ethernet cable for your longest run from the PoE injector to the actual data center itself. Now moving on to the wireless charging pad, this is where things may get a little bit tricky. I would highly recommend scoping out at least 2 to 3 possible spots you'd like to place your Yarbo unit and the charging pad itself, as originally I thought I could place it next to the house underneath the soffit. However, that did not have a reliable GPS signal and either would not activate correctly or would error out. Moving the pad farther out from the house and the soffit fixed all of the issues I was having with the GPS signal entirely, so I would recommend at least 6 feet away from any major structure or the side of your house, for example, if you would like to get consistent, good GPS signals. But of course, trial and error is one way to go about it. If you really want it in one spot in particular, you can try that. The Yarbo unit will tell you if it has a good GPS signal, and if not, you unfortunately will have to re-add it to the actual app itself, which is done very, very quickly. This is actually not too difficult, but it was something that I had to do a little bit of trial and error with to see whether or not a spot would work. Now your next major step will be to map the driveway, sidewalk, and areas you want the robot to clear snow from. You can use either the included controller or the app to do this. The app is the easiest, but regardless, I would recommend taking your time with this process and trying to get it correct the first time. Now, something I learned during the process for sidewalks in particular was to map them down the center and not on the edge like you would the driveway, due to performance issues I was having with the robot getting caught up on the edge of the grass for sidewalks, thus not working correctly. But regardless, mapping the entire area, depending on how large it is, should only take 30 minutes or less. Even taking your time with this, it's actually quite simple, and pathways are going to be a good way to utilize connecting either the wireless charging dock to your work area or different work areas to one another, so the robot or Yarbo unit can actually follow the pathway, get from one work area to the next, clear that area, and then return back to the wireless charging dock once everything is finished. Now, after mapping, I would highly recommend doing a trial run in the dry. Now, the easiest way to do this is to turn the auger off in the work settings and raise the height of the attachment all the way up. This will allow the robot to maneuver without any issues, so you can make sure it stays on the map path. Everything looks satisfactory, but of course, the first real test comes with your first snowfall. So here we are taking a look at really our first and only real sizable snowfall of the season. This one was 3 to 4 inches of lighter, fluffier snow. As I mentioned, it was single digits as the Yarbo unit was clearing the snow from the driveway. And you can tell right off the bat, it has plenty of power to get the snow past the other side of the driveway, but because of its consistency,
it was kind of just disintegrating in midair, and it was quite breezy and windy blowing towards the house. That's just something that has to do with the direction that the front of the house does face. Now I just want to go over some of these settings that I had the Yarbo set to, just so you guys get an idea of kind of what to expect. So this was set on the robust power level, which is 3 out of 4. There is one power level higher than this. I have the shoot angle set between 8 degrees and 30 degrees, 6 inches of overlap. And the snow is only to be blown on the one side of the driveway, because obviously I don't want to blow it in the neighbor's yard, just to be nice. So it is going to go all to the one side in the parallel motion, which means it kind of goes up and down the driveway rather than in a circular motion, which you can set the Yarbo to, where it will go around the perimeter and slowly get closer and closer to the center of the driveway or the area that you have it set to. Now, one thing I do want to point out here at the beginning or the start is it was very interesting that the way that the Yarbo had mapped it in its route to travel, and that it kind of cut a diagonal line, not quite in the center of the driveway, but it did go from kind of one corner to the other corner. And then as it kept continuing clearing to the snow, it kind of overlapped that a little bit. So it was just interesting how they decided the unit to map the driveway essentially and where it should cover at what time. Now, I do want to point out that after this snowfall, I did actually remap the entire driveway just to try to get it a little bit closer to the edges. This was actually pretty darn good in its performance and what it actually cleared, but I just want to see if I could dial it in just that much further and get it a little bit closer to the edges. But the one thing that I did want to get rid of in the mapping is I actually turned the Yarbo unit onto the front entryway sidewalk just a little bit, and I wanted to get rid of that entirely and just make it a straight shot all the way on the I guess you could say the right side of the driveway closest to the front yard. I just wanted to make it a straight line rather than having a jagged edge there going kind of onto the sidewalk, because that can carry throughout the entire mapping depending on how the Yarbo thinks the path is best to travel or best to clear, if you will. So I did just want to say, after this snowfall, I remapped it, and believe it or not, the following day we actually got a wetter, heavier snow, and it was less of a snow. It was about 1 inch to 1.5 inches across the entire driveway. Now, unfortunately, the slushy type of snow is not as ideal for Yarbo, and the amount of it was not ideal. So I will say its overall performance in clearing wet, slushy types of snow isn't nearly as good as maybe a moderately wet snow or even the lighter, fluffier snows. And the amount of snow will also directly affect how it performs in shooting the snow, because if there's not enough snow in the auger to actually like propel it out of the chute, it kind of just either doesn't make it all the way off the driveway, or you know, like I showed earlier on where you have the fluffier snow, it will basically just disintegrate in midair because it is, you know, kind of lighter and stuff like that. So I think an ideal snowfall amount for this unit is probably anywhere between 2 inches all the way up to probably 8 to 10 inches of snow, although you don't have to let it get that high, because you can schedule or automatically send the Yarbo unit out after you have a good amount of snow on the driveway, say 4 or 5 inches of snow that it can easily handle, easily clear, and then it can continue running while the snow is currently falling. So you can kind of split a storm in half, if you will. If you plan on getting 8 inches of snow, you can clear it at 4 and 4. You can wait till the end and clear all 8. I have no doubts in my mind that Yarbo could certainly handle that. You might just have to adjust some of the work settings to, you know, put it on its max power level, adjust the speed of travel, the overlap, things like that. But overall, unfortunately, this is the 2 real snowfalls that I had a chance to use the unit with. So this is kind of the overall experience I had. Now you can see at this point, one of my neighbors actually pulled up and just, wanted to watch the Yarbo unit work from clearing the snow. But for some odd reason, the unit decided to, pause its session and just sat there for about a minute or two, not doing anything while I was watching it out the window, assuming that it would automatically resume or wondering what was going on. About after 2 minutes total, it did resume the actual, session that was started. Went down to the sidewalk, and that's where we ran into another issue with the mapping of how I had the sidewalk done, in that I had it going very close to the grassy edge, all the way down to my property line, turning around in the middle of the sidewalk, and then heading back again very close to the other side of the sidewalk. And I actually learned that basically you can't map it that close to the edge, because if it catches on the grass at any point, it will not only damage your yard and your grass, but it also will affect the performance, in that the snowshoe will catch, the unit will still continue trying to move forward, and that will thus spin or rotate the unit depending on the tracks you have. I had the summer tracks installed. You can go ahead and put these studded winter tracks on if you do wish. But overall, that was something I learned and I fixed when I remapped it for the second snowfall. Just map the sidewalk down the center of the sidewalk, so you won't have any issues, or hopefully won't have any issues with it catching the edge of the grass. And if you want a perfectly clean sidewalk, you'll ultimately have to probably do the edges yourself, which to me, not a big deal. That will take all of a couple minutes rather than clearing the entire sidewalk. If it's 6, 8, 10 inches of snow, it could take substantially longer. So just want to put that out there, is that did fix the mapping, or how the sidewalk was mapped after the first snowfall. And here you can see a look at how the Yarbo unit did in clearing the driveway, me not touching anything after it was completed. I would actually say it did a pretty good job. Sure, there's just a little bit of crumbs, if you will, or the lines that are running down the driveway. Didn't get super close to the garage, but I did remap that, like I said, got it a little bit closer for the second snowfall. And of course, down by the curb where the snow plow pushes up a little bit of additional snow, I don't have it going into the street. And overall, I would rate its total performance and how it operated during the snowfall as probably, you know, an 8.5 out of 10, something like that. So you guys joined me here at the end of this video, and I quickly want to wrap up, give you guys my final thoughts and overall impressions of this product for the amount of time that I've been able to use it. Now, before we get into that, I want to give a huge thanks to Yarbo once again for sending this out for me to test and review, and hopefully for being patient and understanding of my situation this year in creating this review. Just to give you guys an idea of how much precipitation we have received to this date in the winter season, just over 6 inches of snow total for the entire season, and 3.5 to 4 inches was the one main storm that we got. So if you add up all of the lesser snows that were basically a dusting to up to a half an inch, those make up the rest of the snowfalls. And ultimately those two clips or two instances that I tested the Yarbo in were the vast majority of the amount of snow that we got. So it has been a very mild winter in terms of precipitation, which is ideally not the best case scenario for reviewing a snowblower product like this. But luckily the Yarbo itself is a modular system, so they have the mower attachment, the blower attachment, and other attachments coming here in the future. So hopefully we will be able to continue this product review, if you will, here into the spring and summer months, reviewing maybe things like the mower attachment, the blower in the fall when a bunch of leaves do fall, as I have a property very conducive to leaf pickup and or removal. So that would be a good product in the fall. But ultimately, hopefully they are understanding, and you guys yourself are understanding, because this is going to be a fairly inconclusive review, at least as far as my overall impressions, because I've been unable to test it in more extreme environments with 6, 8, 10 inches of snowfall. So ultimately, that's basically where I'm going to leave this video. Now, a couple other points that I do want to make is this product does take a little bit of trial and error, if you will, not only in finding locations for the wireless charging pad, setting up the data center, doing all of the software updates, mapping the driveway or areas you want to clear. But I, ultimately, had to rearrange where I put the wireless charging pad. Not my first choice. I had to map the driveway at least 3 separate times just due to either performance issues, moving of the data center. Like I said, if it moves any more than maybe an inch or two, that throws off the Yarbo unit itself. So you really want it as sturdy as possible upon your first setup. And remapping the sidewalk, things like that, can be done separately from your main driveway. But I remapped the sidewalk down the center because originally I thought you could do it on the edges, and ultimately that proved not to be a good idea or the best case scenario. So mapping does take time. You might have to do it more than once, so don't expect to get everything perfect on the first try. So plan out hours of, or set aside hours to not only do the initial setup and mapping, but ultimately along the way, getting it dialed into your actual use case in your driveway. That was something I certainly did learn. Now, the Yarbo unit itself and its performance, from what I tested, did pretty darn good. I like the amount of adjustability and customization with shoot angle, the power levels, the movement speed of the actual robot itself. One point in the wet snow, it did get clogged and I had to manually clear the chute. So that is something you need to pay attention to if removing wetter types of snow. And you can remove the front safety guards on the auger and additional safety guard on the chute if you would like to, for better performance or just to customize the overall performance. At the moment, this only has person detection for, I guess, stopping or safety of the operation. So if a person gets within roughly 15 feet of the robot on all 4 sides, it will pick that up and pause the movement, basically say person detected. Apparently there is object detection coming in the future using the 4 different camera angles that this robot does come with. So that'll be very cool. I like the exterior lighting with the RGB and just the white running lights, and then of course the amber strobe on top. Very cool integration there. I think communication, for the most part, after having left it outside on the wireless charging dock with constant GPS signal, both Wi-Fi signal here with my Wi-Fi router, everything like that's been pretty darn reliable and solid. I like the fact that you can actually view the cameras in the app when the robot's not operating. So kind of a security camera feature, if you will. It, of course, has safety systems to prevent or deter theft. So you can set boundaries around your work area. If it leaves the boundary, it will alarm, and you can track this via, I believe, 4G data connection actually on the unit itself, but you do have to enable that in the app, so you can use the data built in to track and hopefully recover it if it is stolen. But this thing does weigh like north of 250 pounds fully assembled, so I'm not exactly sure how many people will plan on stealing that or be able to ultimately. So that's kind of a deterrent in and of itself. This is going to be a $4,500 plus purchase, so I can't really say whether or not it's worth it in terms of just its winter snow performance in removing the snow. I absolutely think I've got it dialed into the point where I would feel comfortable running this, not here watching it in person, but I'd still probably advise against that just in case something were to go wrong. But just watching it out the window is an absolute hoot, and people, my neighbors, have found it very interesting to say the least, in that, it's an autonomous robot. You don't have to go clear the snow yourself. So if it's 5-10 degrees outside, it's got the onboard battery heating to keep the battery at a suitable temperature for charging and operation. So that is very cool. It will alert you in the app when it is actually doing a conditioning of the battery. Yeah, it's just a very cool thing. I like all the customization. There is going to be some tweaks and some additional features that are added here in the future as they continually improve and software update this product. So at this point, I really am enjoying it. And hopefully, like I said, I look forward to using this maybe in the summertime with the mower attachment, see how it does in that regard, because I can't really say one way or the other if I would ultimately recommend the snowblower side of things, just because I was unable to test it myself in those worse conditions. But there are other videos here on YouTube with 6, 8, 10 inches, and it seems to have no problem clearing it. I think it has plenty of power. It can adjust its movement speed, intake speed of the snow based on those conditions automatically. And ultimately, I don't think it would have any issue doing it. But unfortunately, I myself was not able to see that in person. So that is pretty much going to do it here for this review of the Yarbo snowblower. If you guys enjoyed this video and or found it helpful, make sure to hit that like button below, subscribe if you haven't already, leave any comments or questions on this product down in the description below, and I will do my best to answer them. And of course, I want to give a huge thanks to Yarbo for sending this product out for me to test and review, and hopefully we can continue this partnership into the following months, so I can give you guys a little bit better and more comprehensive, well-rounded review of not only the core module with its additional capabilities, both in the spring, summer, fall months, but just hopefully get a little bit more time to test out those different attachments outside of what I was able to do here this time with the snowblower. So with all being said, I appreciate continued support. Leave any questions, comments below, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.